this game's a Burnout game. So I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I appreciate Star Wars, I like some of the older films, but it doesn't really do a lot for me. Maybe it's just an overabundance of Star Wars things. So when I saw Galactic Racer, I was like, okay, cool, you know, it's a racing game. I like the old pod racing game back in the day, but it never really got me excited. That is, until I played it. And you know what I learned? This game is a Burnout game in almost every form of Burnout. I mean, it's not open world like Burnout Paradise, but those classic Burnout games where it was a high lethality to racing, where after a few hits, your car gets blown up and then you respawn and you need to catch up. And there is like an arcade battle sort of aspect to Burnout. That is what Star Wars Galactic Racer is. All these vehicles have high lethality, and when they get hit a couple times, they explode. So while you're racing these other different Star Wars vehicles, on top of trying to get ahead of your opponents, you also want to blow them up. You want to take them down. It's almost better to focus on that than it is to overtake them. This is amazing. And I think the Star Wars IP works incredibly well with this, because the setup of this game, you're basically like in an underground race circuit that takes place in the Outer Rim. So you're going to different planets and you're racing against these different aliens. And I feel like, you know, in pod racing in Star Wars Episode 1, there's like a very high lethality to it, right? Like these things, they get hit once, they explode, and all that is represented and makes a lot of sense in the Star Wars universe. Mechanically, there's a bit more going on than in the Burnout games as well, because there are like Star Wars-like abilities that you can equip on your vehicle that give it different perks and abilities and all sorts of different things. And once you arm it, you can activate it. There was one I was using that was called the Ramjet. I think this might be just on everything, to be honest, but basically it's a different kind of boost that basically you can only go straight, but once you activate it, you just run things over. It is a lot of fun. Now, as much fun as the racing is, I think what makes this really interesting is that it's kind of like a roguelite, at least the story is. So basically you enter in this tournament and you have this alien rival that of course is a jerk, and you are helping the owner of this race circuit, or the organizer of this whole race circuit thing, to basically beat him. And it plays out like a roguelite. So you start on Jakku, at least the one I was doing, and then you can pick your path. You can decide if you want to do like a race, or if you want to do like a time trial or battle mode or whatever. And if you win, you move on and you keep going and going and going. As you go on, you can unlock upgrade kits, and you can use those upgrades to improve your vehicle. Whether that's cornering, afterburner, resilience, whatever it might be. So you're kind of building out your vehicle as you go. And of course, there's a ton of different vehicles. There's speeder bikes, there's not speeder bikes, like other hovering things. Sorry, I don't know Star Wars lore, so you're not gonna get all those kind of details from me, but I'm sure you're looking at the footage and you know what I'm talking about. There's a land speeder, that's it.
Luke's land speeder in it?
I didn't see his land speeder in particular, but there are land speeders. And there's also this one that like, when you corner, it like almost goes entirely 90 degrees and you like cut. I think it's called like a knife edge or something like that. It's really cool, it's fun. There's some really creative ship designs, of course, as you'd expect from a Star Wars game. But the last thing that I feel like I need to talk about here is pod racing. So when I first saw this game, I thought it was just a pod racing game, which I think is on me because they didn't show a lot of pod racing until recently. But I saw it and I was like, okay, yeah, they're just making another pod racing game. There is pod racing, but that's not the main focus. The pod racing almost felt like a side activity you can do. And pod racing plays differently. I got to play as Sebulba for one race, and I was going through Tatooine, the Tatooine race course. Yeah, I know some things. I was going through the Tatooine race course from the movie, and the difference is that pod racers are so much faster, but they are way more fragile. So you have to be way more careful going through it. But also, because I was playing as Sebulba, one of the abilities I had was like, once it charged, I like could press a button and I'd spit fire out the side. I think he does that in the movie too. So it's kind of a cool callback there. Anyway, to sort of bring things back to Burnout, it turns out the creative director worked on a lot of those older Burnout games. You can really see the DNA here, and that is what makes me most excited for Star Wars Galactic Racer. I think if you played Burnout, or if you are a big Star Wars fan, I think you'll really enjoy this. It doesn't feel as grand or epic as most Star Wars stories do, because you're just a racer doing these like backwater races, but I think that works. It's using the racing genre in order to tell a different story in Star Wars and show different sides of the universe or the galaxy that you probably haven't seen before. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Star Wars Galactic Racer. It comes out in October, and I am very excited. At first, I didn't really care, but now it might be on the top of my list. We'll see you next time.